Welcome to our first slow down yoga. So slow down yoga is a perfect practice maybe for a bedtime routine. Also just a little bit longer, deeper holds in certain postures. We also think of it more like a more restorative type class. So sometimes having a block or a pillow or a blanket we might use sometimes just to either support ourselves in a certain way or open up the chest or low back. So maybe have one of those handy. Today is going to be a focus of hip and hamstring releases with some restorative, even more restorative postures at the end. So what I want us to start with is actually on our back. So you can find your way to a seated position with your knees lit up, and then just take grip of your knees and rock and roll down. Once you're lying on your back, what I want you to do is just find a little rock side to side with your hips. You can take your knees closer to your chest. You might feel a little massage in the low back. Knees a little further away. You might feel a little massage in that tailbone or top of the hips. So your hip and hamstring muscles can affect your low back. Say you have low back pain. Sometimes releasing hips and hamstrings help kind of counterbalance the pelvis, so your low back may get some relief from this as well. So first things first, I want you to set your left knee down, left foot down, maybe keep your knee up, and just hold the back of your right hamstring. And circle out the ankle, straightening out the leg only as much as you can. It doesn't have to be fully straight, but find a stretching sensation. Especially during these longer holds, it's a perfect time to practice staying focused on the sensations you feel, but also how your breath can be a tool for relaxation, to calm the mind and calm the body. Holding that hamstring stretch for another moment or so. Good, let's start bending the knee a little bit more and just hold the top of that knee. You can release that left leg down, straight. I want you to gently cross the right knee, maybe across the midline. Don't pull into a twist quite yet, but just open to the side, and then maybe across the body a little. And make our way into our figure four. So that's bending that left knee again, crossing our right ankle over the left knee. And then finding your way to holding the back of your left thigh. So with our hips, if we have tightness in our hips and that makes us like have to round forward and make this really active and not very relaxing, one thing I would suggest is to use the wall. So say if I use this wall, I might rotate to the wall a little bit and set my foot up on the wall. So the wall is holding me into my stretch. You can turn fully square to the wall if you want, but that allows some props rather than having to really work for it. You don't have to be absolutely still if you want to rock that shin side to side, feeling different stretches through the hip. Slowly release that left foot back down and unwind that right foot. And we'll do the same little sequence on the other side. So right foot down now, grabbing the back of the left hamstring, circling the ankle. Sometimes when we feel uncomfortable, whether it's physically, like we feel a deep sensation in a stretch, or even in a situation, like an uncomfortable conversation or something, we instantly start breathing high into our chest and tighten up. That even happens when we have physical, when we're uncomfortable physically too, meaning in a hard workout. So how we can combat that or counterbalance that is long, deep breaths. So say I'm feeling kind of uncomfortable and we feel that stretch and sensation in my hamstring. The more I take nice, deep breaths, telling my mind we're in a safe space, we can relax and release our muscles. That can also transfer to our life off the mat when we are in an uncomfortable situation. We feel it and we can instantly take a big breath, calm down, and take care of the situation. But let's pull that knee into the chest, maybe straightening out the right leg. Pulling the left knee over to the left and over to the right. We make our way into figure four. So bringing that right knee back up and crossing the left ankle over the right knee. Making your way either near the wall again, putting that foot on the wall to help hold your legs up, or finding just the back of that right thigh with the hands. And a little rock side to side, feeling different little hip muscles. Release the legs and unwind that left leg. If you set your feet up about mat distance apart and rock one knee in and then the other. We're going to take a few postures on each side seated now. So we're going to grip the fronts of the knees again, a little rock and roll all the way up to seated. I'm going to start back with that right leg again. We're going to do single leg forward fold. So we're going to have the left foot on the inside of that leg, but I want your hips to be square. So sometimes I get into this position for like a half straddle. That's really open hips. So I want you to think closed hips, kind of pull that hip back so the right leg's coming straight out. First, nice and tall, maybe walking down that leg with the hands. Keeping that foot somewhat active, pulling that back. You can either stay lifted for a few breaths, but drop forward, chin tucked, long spine, and round down. These will be kind of your longest holds. Maybe about 10 cycles of breath. Each breath you might relax a little bit more and you can adjust a little deeper. Maybe 1 or 2 more breaths. Trying to lengthen out the inhale and the exhale. Maybe to the count of 5. Slowly start coming up out of that forward fold. You're going to take your bent left knee and straighten that leg out. So we're still working with the right hip and hamstring. We're going to do a tall seated twist, but with a lot of focus on the right hip. So first taking that right hand back behind you, kind of little kickstand, then wrapping the left arm around that leg. So instead of your deepest twist possible, what I want you to think about is lifting the chest and bringing the inner thigh towards the body. Think about driving the right sit bone down to the ground. Maybe you want to go a little deeper into that twist. Take the outside of the arm to the outside of the leg. Slowly unwind back to center. Last seated one on this side is going to be fire log pose. And so if you would like, you can stack your right ankle on top of your left knee and your right knee on top of your left ankle. If that feels too intense and you're up here and you're rounded one, you can find your little pillow or something and sit on that. Sometimes that's easier to sit taller. Another option is just to bring that shin out in front, kind of like cross-legged, but you make sure your right leg is out in front. And then we just take it nice and tall, maybe find a little lean forward. A slight flex of the foot. And then maybe we round forward, maybe drop to the elbows out in front. Maybe another breath or two. Slowly coming out and unwind, and again maybe a little internal rotation. Let that knee drop in, and then the other side. If you did have the little pillow underneath, maybe slide it out, and we'll go into our left side, our single leg forward fold. So again, you want to square the hips, draw that left hip back a little bit. First, inhale nice and tall, lead with the chest. Spend a few breaths in a tall position. And when you're ready, you can round down. Remember, you can, after a few breaths, as you relax and let gravity kind of do its job, you can maybe go a little further. especially being in some stillness, we tend to get distracted. So if you notice you thinking about something else, I want you to recognize it, kind of exhale, let it go, and then refocus back to the present moment, the present sensations, and a breath. Take a few more deep exhales. Slowly coming up and finding your twist with the left knee up. So straighten the right leg back out again. Take the right ankle across. Left hand kind of kickstands back so you have a nice tall supported spine. And then bringing that arm, thinking about what we're trying to release or stretches deep into the hip. So straight spine tries to find that inner thigh. So low back muscles are going to have to work a little bit to try to push your sit bone down. So this might not be a really big twist quite yet, more just of drawing that angle of the hip. And if you do want to take a few breaths with a deeper twist, outside of the arm to the outside of the leg, inhale, length, and exhale, twist. Bringing it back to center. We have our last fire log on this side. So again, stacking the left ankle over the right knee, left knee above the right ankle. You have that option again, maybe to come to a little pillow or a block. It lets you sit a little taller, allows your hips to drop. Maybe that left leg is out in front of the right. Find your position that works for you. First, sit tall. Little flex in the feet, lean forward. And then maybe round forward. You can take your exhale into almost the idea of melting that tension in your hip. So if you think of your tight hip as just a icy joint, and you have to take your exhale, that deep exhale, kind of warm it up, relax it away. Make that warm, melted muscle just a little more mobile. Slowly start to come back up, and we'll release the legs, leaning back. And once again, maybe drop that a little internal rotation. I want you to find that block or pillow or little blanket that you have. We're just going to do one opening kind of the chest, kind of a final relaxation, restorative posture. If you don't have one, not a big deal. We'll all end lying on our back anyway. So as you slowly start to roll on down, find a place for that little pillow to be kind of in your mid-back. Hopefully finding a place for your head to rest as well if you need a second pillow. First, as you just let that settle in, maybe shoulder blades are pulled down and back. Adjust that pillow where you need it, where it feels good. Then I want you to bring the feet about mat distance apart and let them drop in and fall in on one another. Close the eyes and just really get a sense of relaxing the whole body, letting it be held up by something, by the other leg, by the pillow, by the ground. And then I want you to end with your arms kind of in a field goal or cactus arm position. They can be fully extended if you want, or a little higher than shoulder height. Just take a few deep breaths. You can think of again that exhale as being kind of a little heater, or you're kind of warming up the body and letting it melt into the mat. As you exhale, you actively try to relax the body. Relax the mind. You can either stay right here in this position for a few more cycles of breath, or if you would like to, you can lay flat on the mat. So if you do have the pillow or block or something underneath your upper back, you can take that out and lay all the way down. Find a new position that feels better for you. And maybe ending with your hands placed, right hand on your belly and left hand near your heart. It doesn't necessarily need to be on your heart, but just higher. Maybe you feel the beat of your heart and feel the breath coming into the belly. Instead of having your chest and arms open, sometimes it feels a little bit more grounding, a little bit more calming to have that physical touch on the body rather than just open to space. Please stay here as long as you would like. I want to thank you all for trying out class and hope you enjoyed your practice. Namaste.